Hi, everyone. Good morning from Vienna. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Making It in Austria. I'm your host, Adela Mejijanic, and today I have a very special guest with me, Natalia Granada. Natalia, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Adela.
Thank you for taking time on this lovely Sunday. Pleasure to meet you, and I'm so excited to hear your story. Let's kick it off with a short introduction from your side. Who's Natalia?
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Bogotá, and in 2017, I decided to move to Austria. Uh, we had this quick talk before where basically the story always repeats. I had a job back then in Bogotá. I was very comfortable. I was in the IT branch, but I decided that I wanted to explore basically what else was there out in the world to see. And I decided to move to Austria to work and to study. It was 2017 while I was doing my studies at the WU, at the Business Universität. I was also working at a startup that supports female workers in Jordan and in Syria. And this startup was supported also by UNICEF. So since the very beginning, it has always been trying new things, meeting new people, exploring new industries that I never imagined back home to have the chance to explore, not even in my wildest dreams. So that's more or less the short story, the short version.
I'm curious. So, how do you get from Bogota to Austria? So, is it a natural pick? Is it someone that from your community, from your friends, said, "Okay, let's go to Austria"? Is it how did you find Austria? So, for me, coming from Bosnia, and when we decided to move to Austria, I only knew Vienna, so I could a little bit point out to the map so where it is.
Yeah, well, I couldn't before, and that's a little embarrassing. But I did in 2015 an exchange semester in Steyr. That's Upper Austria, and Steyr is like this small town close to Linz. That not, I mean, I don't know if you know it.
Yes.
You do? Okay, awesome. Because most of the people here, especially the Austrians, they ask you, why would a Colombian woman end up in Steyr? So it was basically an agreement between universities. Back then I was studying international management, and there was this possibility to do an exchange semester. And I just picked a country and a city that, was totally unknown to me just to see what happens. And it was like this pivotal moment in my life. I met a lot of an international community. I was faced with a language I did not speak, and that I later on picked up and learned, and also with a culture that was very different to mine. But I think that was the enriching process, to be aware of what your culture represents and what are your values, and also to have this international experience and actually be challenged and have fun with it. So after the exchange semester, I went back to Colombia to keep working. And it got to a point where I said, okay, I'm too comfortable right now. What is the next step? What is the next right thing to do to keep developing in my career? And I decided to apply to the Vienna University of Business for this master program. So I was working and studying at the same time when I moved to Vienna.
So you mentioned that you work in IT. Can you tell us a little bit more? So what is your job like? So how can we imagine your daily business?
Okay, so I work at Cyan Digital Security. Cyan is a company that produces basically cybersecurity experiences for a full spectrum of clients. So we have from very giant telcos to insurance companies, banks, and other industries. And basically, what we do is, and I'm talking about it because I think you also have a background in this area. We have network-based solutions and endpoint-based solutions. So we protect consumers like you or myself from cyber threats, for example, phishing, malware, viruses, and any other kind of cyber threat that can happen. We offer this service to the end customers of our clients. So I can give you an example. Magenta, or T-Mobile Austria, is one of our clients, and they offer protection for individuals like you or myself, or for children. So parents are aware of the cyber threats, and they protect their children also from this kind of malicious content that is targeting the vulnerabilities of their devices. So right now, if you look at it with IoT and the way that is growing this digitalization from the world, not only in terms of the devices, but also in terms of how we connect, how we do transactions in the financial industry or in the insurance industry, we need protection. Because you cannot ignore that before the threats might be, I don't know, your computer has a virus and that was it. But right now, our identity in the digital world is gaining such an importance that needs to be protected, because you represent a person whose information is out there and needs the real protection. And who is better to do that than the trusted partners of the consumers already, like their operator or their insurance provider or their bank even. So that's what we do.
I read recently that the number of cyber attacks is going up, especially in the last couple of months. And so, do you see that as well? That business is growing?
That is a great question, because actually with COVID, it was just shocking. With people staying at home, basically the penetration of devices is right now more relevant than ever. So right now, even children being educated online are exposed to threats as well, whereas before they were in a classroom with their classmates. Right now they are just having online experiences that might put them in the threat of some of the cyber criminals. So I know that for a fact, because we also have a data scientist at Cyan who tests what kind of cyber threats and the volume of them. And we did realize that in the last period, in the last 12 months, the cyber threats in terms of phishing and in terms of spam, for example, telling you that they're going to give you the vaccine of the COVID, or telling you that they have the latest information on COVID, delivering a malicious link, and then you click. And then, of course, you either get your financial information stolen or your social security number compromised. So we did that. We did experience that, but at the same time, it's not the only thing, unfortunately. So with, for example, services like PayPal or financial services, people are adopting these services more, and they need to be aware of those cyber threats if they really want to be on the digital wave, but at the same time be smart about it and be, safe when it comes to the threats.
So to all of our viewers, get in touch with Natalia.
Definitely, yeah.
I will link her contact details, so you must talk with Natalia. Natalia, you mentioned coming to Austria, different culture, German language. So tell us a little bit, how was for you to learn the language? And it's been now, it's the 4th year, right? So how do you feel now in Austria?
Well, I would say I had 2 assumptions before I came to Austria, and those 2 assumptions were, totally false. So the first assumption was that I had to learn German in a classroom. And for the most part, it is true when you're starting to learn, the basics, the grammar, the syntax, vocabulary in German, the declensions and so on. But the real German that I learned and that I know right now, I learned it at work and I learned it with friends. So I think I'm pretty sure you're with me on this, that nobody prepares you for Viennese German. No. Nobody prepares you for dialect. It's just something that I came to Austria with a short crash course from German, but the teacher was from Germany. So of course, when I came here, all happy with my vocabulary and so on, boom, it's like a cultural shock, because you understand there are differences, and adaptation and resilience are what are going to keep you moving forward. So yeah, the first assumption was that you need to learn it in the classroom. That for me ended up not being true. You can learn the basics, but you can perfection it actually talking to people who speak the language. And the second one was that you needed to learn German in order to land a job. And I think for many people, this is true. For many people, it is even a challenge that they need to have perfect German for this. In my case, we are such an international company that even though internally we do speak the language, and that's the way I have been able to improve it and actually to feel comfortable talking to clients or to my colleagues, I have also realized that Vienna is more and more international, and you're going to have the chance to learn it, but also to use your own language. So I speak, my mother tongue is Spanish. and I also speak English. So every day is like juggling with these three languages, you know, with different colleagues at work. And what I love about it is that you become more aware of your culture, of your values as well, because it's a matter of respect. You know, when we are in a group and we know someone doesn't speak the language, just because of respect, you're going to switch it because you know you can, and because you know it's going to make that person feel included. So I think that's what I learned about you know, inclusion at work as well. And I think you asked me before, what was my, you know, what do I do in my everyday, or how is my everyday looking like? Basically, I consult clients on having the best go-to-market strategy for their products. And part of that also has to do with the culture. So for example, right now I have a client in Chile, and I'm soon going to have another one in Ecuador, where even though we have different countries, because Colombia is different from Ecuador and so on, we all have a culture that we share, and something that I use. So it's like using your background as an instrument to succeed at work and to add value to the company you're working at.
Absolutely. It's an advantage. It's an asset. It's definitely an asset for all of us here. If you haven't checked, Antonio is from one of the...
From Spain.
Is from Spain, exactly.
Yeah.
So Spanish, since you mentioned the language, a perfect opportunity to catch up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
How about Natalia? So one of my favorite topics is networking and mentoring. So professionally as well, privately, of course, we are humans who work, but we have private life. It's super important to balance it up. So how did you then build up your network here in Austria?
Well, I think there are maybe two ways, in my opinion, to do that. The first one is it happens naturally. So if you are involved with I don't know, a university or a company, eventually your networks broadens up. And of course, you have the chance to talk to people and to get to know them, and even be part of, I don't know, their other networks, because, you know, it's only 1 degree of separation that is holding you from someone else in Vienna, especially because Vienna, you know, it's from a size that it's enough to keep meeting new people, but it's also enough to, I don't know, meet these people in every single place that I mean, I'm pretty sure you can understand what I mean. So the other way is volunteering. So when I moved to Vienna, I volunteered at the Impact Hub, which is a co-working community that offers spaces for people who are looking for a great place to work in a collaborative environment. And that was one of the kickoffs for my network to start building it up. I met people from several industries, people starting their own startup. And I think that was this enriching environment for me to, okay, I'm in the right city and I'm in the right moment. So let's keep meeting people. The other one was Women of Vienna. So I'm pretty sure you have heard of it. For me, it is also a time where this female empowerment is gaining momentum. And I think it would be a shame not to be part of it, especially in IT as well. So I've shaped my networking in terms of what I do, but also in terms of what I am. I'm also part of a Latino community of women who also, you know, work here, have had the same troubles, but also the same luck that I have had. So I think these networks are only encouraging also when you feel lost, especially at the beginning, to keep trying and not give up, and just to find your own voice and find your own way to build up your career and build up your network, even friends here as well. So it has been like that also with Pioneers, with Aiesec, several communities that right now have brought me to the place where I am, and also have introduced me to other communities that I never thought possible. Now, when it comes to mentoring, 2 years ago, I met who's right now my mentor. She's like a how to say this, like a person who is in charge of taking into advantage what are your strengths and what is the goal that you have, and basically just joining you in the journey. You know, I'm gonna make any decisions for you, but she's just joining you in the journey to find out and figure out what's best as well. So there are many priorities, especially ones that have to do with female empowerment. So I can think of, for example, female founders of Factor F this for anybody watching, I would totally recommend them. That's how I got to know my coach.
Perfect. So I really like those communities as well, and I'm recommending it to all the ladies that don't have a mentor at the moment, and as well to the ones who could be a great mentors themselves, to go and apply and then be part of the community. Because for me, this made a change. This was a really career booster, and it was kind of this place where you can talk about things that you cannot talk with other people. So for instance, I had a mentor within the company. So, and then of course, then you have specific topics. So it's not like having one mentor for every topic. It's not possible.
Exactly.
And I had a male mentor who saw a great potential in me, and I said, okay, I want to work with you. So on your next career step here within the company. And then in the meantime, so as you know, within this, within our IT industry and tech industry in general, so there's not many women. And then I somehow felt like I'm really missing this female energy. I'm somehow feeling this, missing this other part of me. So what I did, I went out and I applied for the PWN, that's the Professional Women's Network of Vienna. And I applied there for, specifically, I was looking for a female mentor, not necessarily in IT, but someone that I can really talk about all these feelings and all this idea that I have. And I was like in a crossroad with my career, finishing the MBA, and I was like, okay, what do I want to do next? I don't know, I'm not sure. But so I didn't really want to accept any job, accept a job before I'm really, I want to stay here. I want to do that.
I'm totally focused.
Yeah. So that was really such a big step in my career, and helped me in so many ways. And most of these programs are free of charge, or you pay very little.
And it's very helpful to have a role model. At least for me, I can tell you, I'm in my early or already late 20s, and I think it's just so inspiring to see a woman who has accomplished what you want to accomplish, or who has moved to an industry where you want to thrive and have success. Now that you mentioned that you also had a mentor in your company, I can just not ignore the fact that I do also. My boss at Cyan, he's a person who also has made me feel empowered and the trust to actually keep moving in projects, and give you more responsibility, but at the same time give you the space to succeed and show what you're capable of. So I would say those genuine or organic mentors, you can also not ignore. They're always there for you.
Yeah, as one of the guests, Kambi, said, so he everyone he meets is a mentor in a way.
Pretty
so because
much.
you like, okay, you get the tip, you get the introduction, you get maybe a book, you get an advice, and so on. So you're always, when you're surrounded with people that are on a similar path like yourself, so they're really looking for do something meaningful in their lives, so that you always get so much. And for me, it's also good for us who have been mentees now to step into the role of mentors, and then give back to the next generation. And that's how we can strive and make a change. Thank you, Natalia, for sharing. I see the other, example that you have shared with joining different communities. So this is the thread that I have seen with other guests as well, who, when they moved here, for instance, Caitlin, she joined the TEDx or TED Vienna community, because she said, okay, where, she was thinking, where can I meet people, like-minded internationals, where can I start from? And that's what I saw with other guests as well. It's a perfect way to, enter the community.
And it's also another way to tackle another worry that many people have, which is, how am I going to meet people? How am I going to meet friends? And who is going to be this network of support for me? So I have to say, most of the really good friends that I have in Vienna have also, they came out from this community. And I think also partners for startups, or business partners for you as well, can come out from this community as well. So it's also very inspiring to have not only colleagues or friends from different industries. Like one of my best friends, for example, I met her in Women of Vienna, and she's the author of several books in terms of marketing and business, and she works with an editorial. And hearing from another industry which is so different to mine is also like very brain stimulating, because you know that there is something more to do out there, and also it is proven that actually helps you innovate more. When you have different inputs or stimuli from different industries, you get the feeling that, okay, the world connects in this and this point, and then you innovate and come up with ideas you wouldn't have had any other way. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Natalia. How about now people who are watching this video, not necessarily from Colombia, anywhere in the world, and they are thinking to move to Austria? What would you advise them? How could they prepare?
Well, that's a great question also, because recently I've been contacted on LinkedIn by, well, she's from Colombia, but she wants to move here because she was accepted to the WU, and she was having all these worries and so on. So I would say my first advice, or my first point to bring to the rest of the people watching, is everything will fall into place. The universe has your back, so don't worry. Especially because the first phase of Austria that many people see is this bureaucratic phase, when you're trying to get your visa, or when you're trying to, you have already a job or a spot in a university, but now you need to apply for a visa, which is asking you to collect this, infinite amount of documents. Yeah, also been there, right? Infinite amount of documents where it's endless. It's endless. And from my own experience, it can take months, and it can take a lot of effort and emotional capital. But if you know that what you're doing, if you're completely convinced and you have the conviction that that's the right thing and the right path for you, then yeah, so everything will fall into place. To not worry. And also the second thing that I would say is, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Many people have walked along this path before. So make friends with them, find them in communities, do networking, because it's very, very helpful. And don't worry about asking. Asking has never, had a bad consequence, except for not getting an answer. So there are people who are out there to support you. And yeah, the last one is just to be open and to be resilient, because Austria is going to demand, and not only Austria, but any country where you're moving is going to demand from you to adapt, to be flexible, and to understand that you need to protect your identity and who you are and your values, but also be able to share them with the other people, and to be open to stay flexible and adapt new cultures, new languages, new ways of seeing the world, and make new friends, make new networks also professionally. So I would say those are the three most important things that have helped me since I moved to Austria.
Yeah, wonderful, Natalia. Thank you so much. I enjoyed this conversation with you. It was really, really pleasure. I could listen for hours. But before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you about what are you reading at the moment, or is there any book that you would like recommend to our viewers?
Sure. Well, I have to say, because of my job, there are like two formats that I consume. The first one is podcasts. I love podcasts, and also books. So I brought this one is the first one that I would recommend to anybody. It's called The Catalyst by Jonah Berger. Jonah is a professor at the Pennsylvania University in the US. And basically, it is just research-based information on how can you change the behavior of consumers or of anybody. So what we're doing every day, or at least in my job as well, is to change the mind of our clients, to change the mind of their end customers, to worry about cybersecurity, or to keep it in mind and actually access to a service or to a product. And this is research-based information on how can you do this, and why it is so relevant for you to put yourself in the shoes of your consumer, and how can you do that. And the other one that I can highly recommend is the Bitcoin Standard. Basically, this is how the blockchain technology is going to disrupt, or is already disrupting, our economy, our culture, and our society in the future. And what is the advantage of such a decentralized alternative to banking, to the traditional way that we know from banking. Also, we cannot ignore that the world is more digital. With every year is getting more towards a point where cash is only going to be in 2022, it's only going to represent 20% of all the transactions. So we are all right now into digital money, into digital transactions. So I think that's a read for anybody who's also interested into technology. And from podcasts, I can recommend the B2B show.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a very popular podcast where they take strategies that other companies have done in the B2B business, and they just share them with you to replicate. Everything is data driven. So data driven marketing is the is the marketing to have. And this podcast is also very recommended, I can say.
Thank you, Natalia. I will link it so with our viewers. So I will put it in the comment section of this video. Thank you so much for being our guest today and sharing your story. I wish you lots of success. And yeah, I see big things for you.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching this episode. So please like, comment, subscribe. Every week we bring new stories, new inspiring stories from our community here in Austria. Yeah, that was from our side. Have a wonderful day and talk to you very soon. Thank you so much.